Hey there, welcome back to Westspark, where we ignite the biggest trends in global news, tech, and entertainment. Today, we're turning our attention to Europe, where tensions are skyrocketing on multiple fronts. Russia's war in Ukraine has just taken a deadly turn, with a new strike killing 19 people in the city of Kryvyi Rih at the same time. Europe is grappling with the fallout from the U.S. trade war we talked about earlier, which is putting even more pressure on an already strained economy. From rising energy prices to fears of a recession, Europe is facing a perfect storm. Let's dive into the details, explore what's happening on the ground, and break down what this means for the region and the world. Let's start with the situation in Ukraine, because it's a heartbreaking story. On April 5, 2025, Ukraine reported that a Russian missile strike in Kryvyi Rih killed 19 civilians, including several children. Kryvyi Rih is a major industrial city in central Ukraine, and this attack marks one of the deadliest strikes in recent months. Ukrainian officials say the strike hit a residential area, destroying an apartment building and leaving dozens injured. I saw some footage of the aftermath, and it's devastating. Families searching through the rubble, trying to find their loved ones. President Zelensky condemned the attack, calling it another act of terror by Russia and urging the international community to take stronger action. He said, "The world cannot stand by while innocent people are killed. We need more support to stop this violence." But Russia tells a different story. The Kremlin claims the strike was targeting a military facility in the area, accusing Ukraine of using civilians as human shields to spread propaganda. A Russian official said, "Our forces are focused on military targets. Any civilian casualties are the result of Ukraine's actions." It's a he said, she said situation, but one thing is clear. The human cost of this war continues to grow, with no end in sight. I spoke to a Ukrainian refugee in Poland yesterday, and she told me, "We're terrified for our families back home. Every day we hear about new attacks, and we feel so helpless." Her story really hit me hard, and it's a reminder of the real people caught in the middle of this conflict. To give you some context, the war in Ukraine has been going on for over 3 years now. Since Russia's invasion in February 2022, millions have been displaced, and tens of thousands have lost their lives. The conflict has also had a massive impact on Europe, from energy crises to waves of refugees. This latest strike comes at a particularly tense moment. Just last week, NATO's new Secretary General, Mark Rutte, called on Russia to take concrete steps toward peace, but Moscow has shown no signs of backing down. In fact, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a statement yesterday saying, "We will continue to defend our interests, no matter the cost." With both sides digging in, the war shows no signs of slowing down, and Europe is feeling the heat. Speaking of Europe, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. The continent is already dealing with a major economic challenge. Thanks to the U.S. trade war we talked about in our last video, the U.S. has imposed a 20% tariff on European goods as part of its broader trade crackdown, and the impact is being felt across the EU. European stock markets have taken a beating. The Stoxx 600, a major index, is down 10% from its recent highs. That's a significant drop, and it's raising fears of a recession. In Germany, Europe's largest economy, factory orders have fallen sharply as U.S. demand for European cars and machinery dries up. I spoke to a factory worker in Munich who told me, "We've already had layoffs. If this keeps up, I don't know how we'll survive." In France, small businesses are struggling to cope with higher costs. And in the UK, which is already dealing with post-Brexit challenges, the government is warning of a potential economic storm. The EU's trade commissioner held an emergency call with U.S. officials yesterday, pushing for negotiations to roll back these tariffs. But the talks didn't go well. The U.S. stood firm, saying the tariffs are here to stay. France's finance minister, Bruno Le Maire, spoke out against retaliating directly, saying, "Tit-for-tat tariffs will only hurt our own consumers. We need to find a smarter way forward," but not everyone agrees. Some EU countries, like Italy and Spain, are calling for a tougher stance, arguing that the U.S. is taking advantage of Europe at a vulnerable time. It's a messy situation, and with the war in Ukraine adding fuel to the fire, Europe is walking a tightrope. An economist I spoke to in Brussels said, "Europe is caught between a rock and a hard place. We can't afford to fight on two fronts, but we might not have a choice." Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges for Europeans right now: energy prices. The war in Ukraine has already driven up the cost of natural gas and oil, since Russia was a major supplier to the region. Many European countries have been scrambling to find alternative sources, like importing more gas from Norway or the Middle East, but it's not enough to keep prices down. In countries like Germany and Poland, energy bills have doubled over the past year, and with winter just around the corner, families are worried about staying warm. I read a story about a family in Berlin who said they're only heating one room in their house to save money. It's heartbreaking to think about. Now, with the trade war adding more economic pressure, some analysts are warning that Europe could be on the brink of a full-blown recession. The International Monetary Fund recently lowered its growth forecast for the EU, predicting just 0.8% growth in 2025. That's barely above zero. So, what does the future hold? On the Ukraine front, NATO is expected to announce new military aid for Kyivy in the coming weeks, but it's unclear if that will be enough to shift the tide of the war. There's also talk of increasing sanctions on Russia, but some European leaders are worried that could backfire by driving up energy prices even more. On the economic front, Europe is hoping for a breakthrough in trade talks with the US, but with the Trump administration showing no signs of compromise, that seems unlikely. For now, Europeans are bracing for a tough road ahead, with the twin crises of war and trade threatening to upend the region. I'll be keeping a close eye on this story, and I'll update you as things develop. That's the latest from Europe on West. What do you think about this situation? Are you worried about the war in Ukraine or the economic challenges facing Europe? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for more global updates from the West. See you tonight with some entertainment news.